Hey, have you ever wondered how to make your own game? Well, today's your lucky day. I'ma show you how. The game I just showed you was a school project of mine. I made it all by myself, and it was quite a process to learn Monogame and C#. I had difficulty finding useful tutorials online, so I figured, why not do it myself? So I'm making another game using the knowledge I gained from making the first one, and I'm documenting it all for you guys, so that one day you can make your own game. Enjoy. This is the main game file from my school project, and as you can see, it's quite big. This file alone has about 600 lines of code, and I have about 9 files, although they're not all as big as this one, but still, they're quite big. But don't get scared. I'm gonna show you step by step how to get this far and even make some improvement, because I have made some minor mistakes in the size of some of my projects, so this will all get way smaller and more efficient. Let's go. First up, you should download Visual Studio. After that, you should download the Monogame plugin, which we'll be using to make the game. Once downloaded, you should open up Visual Studio and click on create a new project. You have to install the Monogame cross-platform desktop application. You can use it, you can download it using the link in the description from the official Monogame website. Once you have the project template, you can search it right here for Monogame, and once it finds it, you have to use the cross-platform desktop application, and it should be right here. Once you've clicked on it, open it up, give it a name, save it somewhere you want to, and once it has started up, you should see something like this. You only have a game1 file and a program file, but first thing first, never touch a program file again. The only thing this does is run your game1 and the rest of your file. You won't have to touch this file ever again. Don't do it, it will not be worth the time. Next up, this is your game1 file. This is where most of your code will be. We'll be able to split everything up in nice evenly sorted classes like the player class and the enemy class, but if you want to, you could even put your entire game just in this file, but it will get messy real fast, so that's why we'll split it up. Right now there isn't much to begin with. Monogame will give you a small setup and it won't do much. The only thing that will happen right now if you press play right here in the top corner is that a small window will show up with the background color cornflower blue, and you won't be able to do much with this window, and if you press escape it will shut down. And that's basically what all this code says. When you press play, there will be a background that is indicated by this layer right here with the background color cornflower blue. That was the type of blue you just saw. And when you press escape, the game will exit. That's all that's basically said right here, and the graphics device and all that kind of but it ain't much, and we'll have to change something about that. Before you continue, I have changed my file name because I realized Book is actually a moped, but don't worry, it won't matter. And I have to give a quick shout out to the Hide and Tech Club. It is one of the few documented website I could find about Monogame and C#, and it was actually useful and didn't give me quite as much errors as the rest. For the main parts of the game, I've used this walkthrough and I added a lot of the things myself. If you want to, I will link this in the description. It guides you by step, but I had a few errors and minor details that weren't quite right, so that's why I'm still making the video. If you want to, you could also just use this. Alright, as I said before, there isn't that much going on yet in the game1 file. There isn't much we can do. As I've mentioned, the cornflower blue is the main background color, and if you, for example, would be to change it to black and you would press play again, you would notice that the background would be black this time instead of the blue we saw before, and this implies with all the colors. And if you want to add a color, there is a list that it will show you. For example, when I type in B, they'll show this list will show. There are lots of colors to choose from, but I will just set it back to cornflower blue for you guys, so it will all be in schedule again. Alright, let's get an image in there. If you want to add an image or anything at all, basically from outside Visual Studio inside your game, you have to go right here to the content file. If you press this arrow and then go to content mgcb and double click it, then a window should pop up any second round. Yes. And if you press the plus icon, you can choose an object, basically all file could be .wav file for sound, .mp3 sound, .mp3 for music, or a PNG for images. I just made a PNG file, so let's get it. It's right here. I made the player char. I want you to meet Gary. I thought Gary would be a fun name. And you open it, and once you've opened it, you want to copy the file to the directory and add it. After that, you want to build it, so that way it will be loaded, and if it's all going well, it will show a green check mark. So that went well, and we can close the window. Now this is a object that is connected in the game, and we'll be able to call it in. Next up, we want to load the actual player image we just put in our game. So we'll have to start by making another texture 2D. That is basically any type of texture in 2 dimensions. So we'll go with private texture 2D, and then we'll name it player image. And now we've made a texture 2D called player image, and we haven't actually connected anything to the player image, so it's still grayed out. If you want to do that, we'll have to go to the load content body and write the following line: player image, it will autofill, is content dot load. Now you have to use these brackets. I've got an actual name for them, the bigger than and the smaller than icons. You put texture 2D again to indicate it's a texture 2D. Then you'll use the actual brackets with the apostrophe, I forgot what to call it, and you have to input the name of the file. So in our case that's player underscore char, which means for player character. It's short for player character. And then you save it, and if you press play, it won't show. The image didn't actually show up because we hadn't instructed the game to draw the actual image. In order to do that, we'll have to go to the draw section, and we'll start with the underscore sprite badge. And you might be wondering why underscore sprite badge. That's because we indicated the sprite badge with underscore sprite badge up top here. Then we'll go sprite badge dot begin. You have to use the brackets and a.com. Then we'll do sprite badge dot end. And basically whatever you write in between these two lines will be drawn, or will be able to be drawn in your game. And in order to draw the actual image, we'll have to write the following line in between these two lines of code, the sprite badge begin and sprite badge end. It will go like rectangle, player destination rect, which will stand for the player destination rectangle, is new rectangle with 0,0 and another comma, player image dot width, comma, player image height. And in case you're wondering, this will actually make a position rectangle around the player, in which we'll be able to extract and give data to, and this will be the way how we draw it. And as you might see, we have some errors, and we'll have to fix those errors. I made a mistake. What did I do? Alright, I'm stupid. I accidentally placed a double comma, and now all the errors are gone, but it will still not draw. In order to draw the image properly, you will have to add one more line, and that is underscore sprite badge dot draw, and then open brackets, player image, comma, player destination rectangle, comma, color right. And what this essentially does, it will load the player, it will draw, so it will load the player image, which we said would be the this image, the player char. Then it will load the player destination rectangle, which will give the width, height, and the actual locations, in this case the 0, 0 coordinates of the image, and color white, which will essentially mean the actual color of the image. If you would put red here, the image will be with a red filter or something. So if we press play this time, you'll see that Gary should be right there. And he's a bit big, but it's Gary. He's quite a fellow, but he's there. And if you want to fix this, you can do this by many ways. For example, if you go to the player chart, in this case it will be 1000 by 1000 pixels, but because we have made our window as small, we would be able to adjust this to 300 by 300 pixels. And if we play the game again, you will be able to see that Gary will be fully loaded in. Just like that, and it will be at the 0, 0 coordinates. And you might wonder, what are the 0, 0 coordinates? Well, the 0, 0 coordinates are in the top left corner, and the top left corner from the image will be at the given coordinates. So in this case, the top left image of the top left corner of the image from Gary is exactly at a 0.0. And one thing you must know before you start is that the pixel or the coordinates from left to right are just from 0 to above, and from up and down it will be in the opposite direction, going up to down instead of down to up. So it will be 0 and then it will go negative this way. It might sound weird, but it's just how it works. So yeah, that's how you draw your first image in Monogame using C#. Until next time.